Lead the charge with Milwaukee. Performance, power, precision, no petrol hassles. Learn more at milwaukeetool.com.au. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty. Aces, I know I always talk about the RIXXs, but I got to offer you the discount again. In case you've forgotten or in case you're sleeping under a rock, we have a special discount code for everyone that listens to this podcast or watch the podcast. It's ACES. Head online to rixeyewear.com.au and use the discount code ACES and you'll get 20% off. That's right, 20% off, 1/5 at checkout and free express shipping. So head online, rixeyewear.com.au and check it out. All right, do we have a big show for you today? Let's get stuck into it. Welcome back, everybody, to the Tommy Talks podcast. As always, we have some huge guests that join us. And today we've got Chris Johnson, superstar, 3-time premiership player. You've done it all, international rules. But now at SKS, Indigenous Technologies, as the GM there, doing some great things with the AFL. No doubt still doing commentary. I tuned in the other day with Brown Dog as well. You're everywhere, mate. But thank you so much for your time. I can't wait to have a chat.
Nah, good to be here, Tommy. You forgot the wooden spoons, mate. Don't forget the 3 wooden spoons. You got to do your hard yards before you get to the 3 flags.
We like to just pump them up over here. I was interested though. I read that you were the last player to kind of leave Fitzroy. That's true, right?
Yeah. So the last player to play, last Fitzroy player to ever play in the AFL. So the merge happened. We went up Brisbane. 8 of us went up there and. Basically, there were only a few of us left that went out to different other clubs as well. But, yeah, the last Fitzroy player to actually ever play. A lot of the other boys had retired before me. And, so the last one to go around, it was sad in a way, but it's certainly at the same time pretty proud of it.
Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. And the Fitzroy people have got – there's a massive following behind Fitzroy and, from all around the country. But obviously – we weren't successful in the period that I was there, but certainly a decade before we folded up, Tommy, we were so successful. We had guys like Gary Wilson, Bernie Quinlan, Mick Conlon, Laurie Serafini. We had so many great players that were pushing sort of Victorian status or even All-Australian status. And over a 10-year period, we sort of just declined a little bit. And obviously it became more marketable and the game came. There was a lot more money involved and the Fitzroy Football Club just couldn't hold up. But I remember my times there, 3 years there. I was played my first game as a 17-year-old, which was great. I played at it was actually Timmy Watson's 300th out at Princes Park.
Oh, there you go.
They'd just come off winning the flag in '93. Myself, John Barker, Jared Malloy all played our debut for Fitzroy that day. 3 boys that came through the Northern Knights system. So we're all out there and it was Timmy's 300th and I lined up on a Brownlow medalist from the year before in Gavin Wanganeen. So it was a bit terrifying at the moment, mate.
Well, he must have taught you a few things because he was a gunner. I was born in 1993. Oh, there you go. But I still remember watching because I had the tape.
Yeah.
I remember watching that grand final. So that's funny that you brought that up. It was because Dustin Fletcher was playing as a 17-year-old, wasn't he?
Yeah. It was quite strange. I was there on the day too, Tommy, and I actually played in the grand final that day in the under-18s Northern Knights grand final.
Right.
And managed to beat the Western Jets. We kicked 32-32, and the Western Jets kicked. I think they kicked 18-17. It was a high score ever kicked on. The highest score ever to be kicked on grand final day at the MCG. I've been told. So it was a pretty big day.
That's a lot of scoring. Was anyone defending?
No, it wasn't too many. Sheridan Gibson kicked 10. He got best on ground. And I kicked a lazy 7 in the second half.
Oh, so that's unbelievable. How do you kick 7.5?
Well, you just don't go near your man. You don't get manned up. Kicked 3 in the third, and then I think I kicked 4 in the last. So when the game was well and truly over. So it was a pretty good day. It was a beautiful summer day, and as you would have seen when Carlton and Essendon played that afternoon, and it was a good day. It was the first time ever playing on the MCG, so I was quite lucky.
That is exciting. It's always a big thing as a kid growing up that they just want to play on the G. There's something special about it. And there's obviously a lot of good decks now, but the G, it's like the Colosseum. It's the
G you just want to get to. You want every moment that you dream about playing AFL football, especially as a Melbourne boy. You dream about you don't dream about playing at Windy Hill or Princess Park or Victoria Park. You dream about the MCG being there. And I've been there a couple of times with my mother and my grandmother and my auntie who are mad Carlton supporters, which I was growing up. And you've been to the MCG a handful of times, and all you want to do is just go to that ground and play. And to be able to get there, and the only way you could get there is A, play AFL football or play reserves VFL football, and then the under-18 competition here in Melbourne or here in Victoria always played before the grand final. Now it's sort of all changed and turned into a national competition. They've now got the best 18-year-olds around the country playing now. So, it was the only way you could get on. So, and there was probably times when I was growing up that you could run on the ground maybe, Tommy, back in those days. But to actually play on this.
I'm pretty sure they're doing that now. I know when I was in Sydney, they were doing that, and there's a few other ones, but I'm not sure if I think they do it at Marvel.
The Gabba.
I'm not sure.
Gabba, they do it.
They might not do it at the G, though.
Yeah, probably not.
Do you think they should bring back maybe just like reserves footy? Like, VFL's getting pretty close to having their own sides. We know our boy Mickey Barlow, he's at Werribee. There's only a few of those sides as standalone, but do you think they should play VFL prior to AFL, or are you still concerned about the deck?
No, not at all. Well, it's a TV thing, right? It's a TV thing. If you have more games on the MCG, the ground's not going to look as good. It's not going to come up as good. That's your only thing. But I think if you look back to the days, especially when I first started off, Tommy, we had there was 19s before the under 18 competition got going. There were 19s, reserves, and seniors, and the amount of players that you had through your football club, such as the North Melbourne, who I was to, is that they had a pool of, say, sort of 60 players for their 19s, another, sort of 60 odd for their seniors and their reserves. I think it's a great thing. I think it's either that or you've got to play AFLW games before the actual men's game. You get because there was nothing better. There was nothing better playing VFL football or reserve football back then, getting to the second half and the crowd starts to build, and then you get to the last quarter and there's all the sounds start happening in the seats and people are talking. No one's really watching you. They're watching you a little bit, but you get to play in big crowds for a quarter. But I think we need to bring that back, and whether it's AFLW or whether it's VFL, I'm not too sure, but certainly you need to get it back. Whether there's enough grounds at the moment, enough real facilities to be able to hold, because only in Melbourne we've only got the two where we play, and obviously in Brisbane there's two. Sydney, there's two. There's two in every state almost. So you just got to worry about the surface and how well that comes up, I reckon.
There's a few logistics, isn't there?
There is. But I think it's worth it. I think it's worth looking at the AFLW part of it, because I think now almost every team has an AFLW side now.
Yeah, I think
there's probably two more clubs that come in. I'm not too sure.
You'd imagine they'd all be, if they're not already filled, and then you should know that.
So if Brisbane, I think the AFL fixture should or the AFLW fixture should just mirror image the men's fixture and just play them at the same time. It's going to be a longer season for the females, obviously, but I think it's a way of building more supporters, more supporter base. But it gives the AFLW girls an opportunity to play on the big venues, and I think we need to go back to, or not back to, but they need to go to 18v18, not 16v16.
16v16 obviously is to open it up, but 18v18 would create more contests. Yeah, I'd imagine that'd be an eye-opener for the girls, like pre-game, like as you said, all the crowd would be rolling in, and it is one club, so they're already in the stands anyway watching if they're not playing, so it just means they finish and then get up in the stands and watch the blokes play.
And you see where they're playing now. Vic Park, obviously, it's not too far from here. It's just down the road. It's a dog park now.
Is it?
You go during the week and
there's a dog park.
Yeah.
That's where I used to play my when I was a youngster, like all our state games.
Yeah,
that's where they were playing. It was a good deck, though.
It's a good deck. There's no doubt about that. But through the week,
a few landmines on the deck.
There's a lot of landmines. There's a lot of potholes too, as well. Dogs getting digger. I'm probably one of those people. Take my dog down there
you don't
as well.
leave the landmine on the ground.
No, you certainly don't. And the reason why it's such a great dog park is because it's all fenced in. The dogs can just go crazy. So,
it's one of those. The dogs can hang out.
Yeah, hang out. You can take them off the lead and everything else. But it's certainly you've got the girls now playing in those smaller venues as well. So I think they need to get the experience.
Yep.
And yes, it's they've only just started and it's a slow build, but I reckon that's the next step.
Yeah, well said, mate. Well said. I want to go to you growing up before we get into footy. Back to where we were, Fitzroy. Just talk to everyone about where you grew up. I think Jacana is pretty rough back in the day. I think it's all right now, but back in the day, Jacana and Broadmeadows, the amount of heat you used to cop. No wonder you're a tough bastard.
Yeah, mate. Well, Jacana, that's the club I played for. So Jacana Football Club, that's who Dad played for. We lived in West Meadows, which is the Toorak part of Broadmeadows, as we call it. Grew up there. Went to primary school there, went to high school there. You go back there now, Tommy, no longer there. Both schools have been knocked down, and now it's all just residential area at the moment. But the football club's still there. I was lucky enough to go back after having a little stint at Avondale when I moved back here. Went back there, Jacana for 3 years. Got into 2 grand finals. We won 1 at the end. We had Cam Cloak down there kicking 100 goals for us, and went down there and put a bit more time and effort into that football club, and we got over the line. And that's when I hung them up and said I'm done, and only just playing the Aboriginal carnivals there. But grew up there and got a lot of friends still back there as well. And even my mother-in-law, he's still living back there. We get back there at the Chiaprio's little pizza restaurant up on top of Johnson Street. I was only there the other night actually and had a good pizza there. So I get there back there a bit, but yeah, pretty rough area. Especially growing up, it was a place of hard knocks as well, and a lot of people, working hard, and that sort of down and out type people, and but a great community to grow up in. But certainly got to watch your back from time to time.
Any funny stories, or any more insightful stories of watching your back as a youngster?
Oh, mate, there was plenty of them. Especially at school, and especially playing the games, the footy. We used to come up against Wallen a fair bit as well. There was a couple of stories there, mate, that your big Basil Hall, when he was only a little fella, still used to throw him around a little bit as well. So you had to be mindful of that. But yeah, nothing that was too much over the top. It was almost like your schoolyard bullying type thing, and that you needed to be really, really mindful of.
Yeah, there you go. The Toorak of Broadmeadows. That's brilliant. That is brilliant.
Well, Eddie grew up there. Now he lives in Toorak. So
yes.
The Maguire family.
I love that you went back there. I'll talk about that. Did that mean a lot to you? Like, were you always thinking throughout your career, even your successful career at Brizzy and obviously early days, but you always had in the back of your mind, I want to go back and do something special for my community?
Yeah, certainly. So the last premiership they had won, Jacana, was in 2001, I think, with a group, and then before that, it was early 1980s.
Oh, wow,
so it was a real dry senior premiership time. And I had mates that had gone back and played, a few people that I knew that were still there at the football club that I knew as young kids as well. So I wanted to go back. It was only up the road from home as well. As I said, when I first moved back here, I went and coached and played at Avondale Heights, which was a great time there. And then at the end of my time there, I went back to Jacana, which was always good to go back to. I always had, certain people ringing me, talking to me, and still keeping connected with those people. But I think giving it back to the supporters and a lot of people that had played with my father. So my father played in the early 80s grand final. So I wore his number when I went back there as well, the number 52.
That's great.
It was a high number.
It's a heavy number.
My eldest son runs around in the VFL now wearing that number as well.
That's awesome.
So I had a lot of connections, and everything I knew was growing up, Tommy, was around the Jacana Football Club and around the senior players there. And, that's where, the first time I smelt the deep heat and all that type of stuff in the club rooms, and, the one of the trainers walking around with a box of chewies and stuff like that, and getting the oil rubs and all those type of things. And, and then I was lucky enough to play there, senior football there when I was 15. So it has a lot of memories, and, I enjoyed going back there, and some of the people back there are just beautiful people, and it had so much. That football club had so much of a foundation for my family and for my football as well. And a couple of great players coming out of there: Bruce Stool, Scott Wine, Jose Ramiro, Ross Smith, Paul Wind as well. So it bred some pretty good AFL footballers.
Yeah, it's special, mate. I love hearing that. It Brings back memories as a young fella. Yeah, it's always an eye opener when you're 15. I think I played my first game at 15, just a top up game because we were playing TSC Cup, or 16, and just the characters. You don't meet many characters like a local footy club, especially the ones that have been there for a while. They sit there and tell some funny tales.
Mate, they were unbelievable. And then these guys, some of these guys that I was playing with, Tom, when I was 15, they all the days where they had the old, and everyone's got them now, but tattoos. The guys just had tattoos all over them, and the Sammy Sam tattoos, all these cartoon character tattoos. But the characters, we had this one guy, Jerker they called him. He was tiny but ran all day. Would take a hanger. Wasn't a big man, but would take a hanger. And then there was a guy, Rodney Johnson, who was just fantastic within the Riddle. That was a Riddle football league back in those days, and he was an absolute superstar, represented Riddle a number of times in the combined team. I think he ended up going back and playing for Riddle Football Club at some stage. But that Rodney Johnston and his family, they were the foundations of the football club, and he was certainly one of them.
Yeah, brilliant, mate, brilliant. What about when we go back to the Fitzroy days? Talk to me about how do you get picked up in how did you get picked up and your years there? Talk to me about you said don't worry about the three flags, don't forget the wooden spoons. Well, let's talk about the bottom. Let's talk about the tough times and the good times. I know we were talking off air about the functions afterwards and how you really stuck together real tight as a group. I want to really know more about Fitzroy. Yeah, well, Fitzroy itself, like when I first got drafted there, Tommy, it was quite strange because for some reason, or not for some reason, the reason was that my uncle Ronnie was he was in the Past Players Association or something like that, and I went to a game of Victoria versus South Australia when Plugger and Tony Lockett and Jason Dunstall were lining up at full forward. I went there. My uncle took me to this State of Origin game, and he took me in at halftime to that function, and then, this is when I would have been about 11 years old. And then 6 years later, my name got picked out as number 7 in the 93 draft for Fitzroy. And look, it was my wildest dream. So I wasn't on the draft radar until probably 3 months before that. As I came into the TAC Cup, I had the blinder in the grand final, which we spoke about. But to get my name called out as a top 10 draft pick, a kid from the northern suburbs that really didn't like school. School didn't like me. I was always going to be a dropout at coming into it. But it was just an opportunity for me to be able for Fitzroy to give me an opportunity to be drafted and go and play was outstanding. And the first day I walked into the football club, I really did see that we were a fair bit behind, and I'd been to other football clubs because when you come back in those days, there wasn't the combine, Tommy. There wasn't the combine. If a club wanted to look at you, there'd be about over a 6-week period, they'd invite you to come and do testing at each club, and you got to see some of the other football clubs. And what I've seen, Fitzroy never invited me. They didn't even think I'd be there to be able to be picked. So I never got to Fitzroy, but I got to some other clubs, and seeing the difference between the administration and the setup in each football club was just huge. Fitzroy were so far behind. You walked into their social club just down at Northcote. At the end of Brunswick Street there, the Albie and Charles Hotel, and that was the whole football club there in a pub scenario. Level 2 was the whole administration, and they were trying to make money through selling alcohol and obviously pokies and all that, and that was a massive eye opener. And you go upstairs, you could smell the grog coming up through the floor and everything else as well. But lovely people there, and once I got there, I sort of realised that we didn't have a lot that other clubs had. Were based at Lakeside Oval at the time. Again, right next to a nightclub, right next to our club rooms as well. So, there wasn't really, it wasn't really the ideal scenario for a professional football club to be in. And, the people there, my first coach was Robert Shaw, and then Bernie Quinlan came along. In my first 3 years, I had 3 different coaches: Robert Shaw, Bernie Quinlan, and Mick Nolan. And then in that last year, Mick Nolan, halfway through, the merge got announced, and we were heading up to Brisbane. We almost looked like we were heading to North Melbourne, which was pretty good. I was staying home, but then ended up there. But great times. Had Paul Roos there, Ross Lyon. Rossi was my big brother at the time when I first got there, so he put me underneath his wing. And the likes of Peter Satori was there, an old Carlton champion.
champion. They had a lot of recycled players. Jeff Hogg even come and played for a little bit, but there were some superstars that had been around for a long, long time that you got to see up and close and personal, which I never thought I would. And then one day I'm sitting at Fitzroy Football Club at Lakeside Oval. Number 2, right next to me, number 1 is Paul Roos, one of the best halfback footballers to go around to this day. Look, they were great times, but as a young kid, I guess coming into my second year, Tommy, we'd get the training and we moved our venues in the second year. We end up our training venue ended up being from Lakeside to Coburg Oval, and there were times that you were rocking up there at Coburg Oval and the gates were locked, and we hadn't paid our bills and we didn't have anywhere to train. They wouldn't let us in, and basically we would have to find a bit of grass somewhere in the local area of Coburg in a park and do a bit of foot skills, or go and hire out a basketball hall just to get in there and do some handballing, through different times. But there was never, there was always times that you'd rock up the training and, all the cameras would be there, 7, 9, 10, talking about the clubs at the end. We're going to fold.
Just bashing the club.
Bashing the club down and trying to work out what was going on and who was responsible for it, I guess. But that would happen at least, in one season. That had happened at least over a dozen times.
Was that a bit much as a young fella? Like you're just trying to get in the team and play good footy and win games of footy and all this other stuff's going on. And also, like, when you go to grounds and they're locked, like, what were you thinking?
Mate, well, you're thinking, is this the AFL system?
Yeah.
Is this what I'm pretty sure it's not what every other, guy who got drafted in the 93 draft is going through.
And there's no phone, so you can't just pick up.
Exactly.
There probably is, but you can't just pick it up and go, hey, brother, you dealing with this as well? It's kind of like you got to wait till you run into them on the game day. You
run into them at game day or after the games. But certainly for us, it was for myself and probably Jared Malloy, who was there, and all the new draftees was a massive shock because the picture has been painted as an AFL footballer that you're going to get a lot of benefits and life's going to be great and all this type of stuff, and then all of a sudden you're at a football club and everywhere you look in the newspapers, on the news, they're talking about being folded. And then as a footballer, you're thinking, well, am I going to have a club next year? Am I going to have a contract next year? Yeah. So really, and then that was for a young person. But if you imagine an older person that was in that scenario that has a mortgage, that has kids and all this type of stuff, it was quite taxing at times. And then you've got to perform on the weekend as well at the same time with not the same, talent. I would say talent and the same facilities. And we all know facilities can help you perform on the weekend, and we certainly didn't have that.
How many games did you win at Fitzroy?
Oh, gee, Tommy, that's a tough one. I reckon in the first. I don't reckon it'd be more than a dozen games.
Do you remember some wins? Like
I remember the first game, the first win. I remember that. And I remember the big one against Fremantle out at Whitten Oval where Anthony Mellington kicked 6. I had my hand in a couple. Nick Carter dominated in the midfield. I think he got the 3 votes that day, the 3 Brownlow votes. But that one there was our last win, the last win ever for Fitzroy Football Club against a team that was probably still trying to find themselves as well as Fremantle. It was a huge day.
What year was that?
That would have been 96.
So that would have been, so they only just started 94, 95.
So we were finishing up at the end of the year. So I don't know whether we knew at that time whether the merge had been announced. I don't think it had been. But that was the last win of Fitzroy, and that win there I remember so much.
The social club would have been going off.
The social club. Well, even like they actually had people would after the game. You know how they used to run on the ground. You go back and look at the vision, and it's played on Foxtel every now and then as well over the summertime, and all the crowd or all the supporters they just charged the change rooms. They all just got in the change rooms and singing theme songs with us and everything. And some randoms got in, and it was absolutely mayhem there. But it was to see the joy on their face. And if you go back, and I've gone back and looked a few times and had a look at it, it's just and you see some of the old faces. You still see some of these people now how joyful they were at that time, and the player part in that sort of sits pretty well with me, and I think it sits well with the rest of the group as well. And it was a good day. It was a wet, cold day. Weather wasn't great, but certainly for the football club, it was outstanding.
Nah, it's good, mate. It's good to reflect on those little wins, as we'd say. And as you know, around the corner, there's plenty of success. So it's good that you did the hard yards early days. What about them? So actually, one more question. Who was responsible for the club probably going, that far backwards? Like, it's never one person, I'd imagine. But like, did they ever get to the journos ever scoop out a name, or did they ever write articles on why the club had to fold?
Not that I can remember, Tom. I think when I'd got there, I think the club was already in a fair bit of debt already. I think the AFL kept topping up. And I think it was to the expansion to the AFL where they wanted to bring in other teams from interstate, so the Crows, Port as well, and all those type of teams. So you sort of knew that there had to be one less for the future of the competition. They had to get rid of one club here to make it an even competition nationally. So I'm not too sure whether there was anyone directly responsible. I think it was probably an administration collectively of not having things right and things in place as what they should have. Maybe player payments. And a lot of players didn't get paid a lot. If you looked at Fitzroy, I wouldn't have thought they'd pay their outlay for players would have been anywhere near, say, your Collingwoods, Carltons, and Essendons, but still at various different times were very competitive. Through those probably last 7 or 8 years, but certainly the last 3 years, we weren't competitive at all.
Do you think all this hardness at the start shaped you to become such a successful player? Or you were always going to be successful, but there's, you know what I'm saying? Like, did that that definitely help having that that tough start?
Yeah, it certainly drove me. It gave me the drive within myself. I looked at it and said to myself, didn't want to be there. So if you think about it, Tommy, my first 4 years of football, I was involved in, as we joked about in the opener, involved in 3 wooden spoons. And at that stage there, mate, I'm looking at myself in 1997 thinking to myself, is it me? Is it me? I start looking internally to myself and go, is it me? Am I the reason why this football club or my football success is just being woeful? Because if you go back and have a look, in 96, the Brisbane Bears made a prelim, although they went deep into the finals, I'm pretty sure. And then we merged with them, and then we end up being the rabble of the competition. We end up finishing last on the ladder again. So I had two at Fitzroy, finishing on the bottom, and then my first year in the merge at Brisbane, we finished last on the ladder. And then I started looking in with myself and going, am I the issue? Am I the problem? And then you just start getting the work a little bit. And I think all the hard times and then the success that we had later on once Lee came and Gubby Allen came and started to put a real good team list together, I think there was no doubt at times I look back within games and go, I've done it hard. These are the times now that I've got to really, really enjoy, because, again, it flips around pretty quickly as well, depending on, your recruitment and how well the club does in, moving your list around as well. But I would look back and say that whole Fitzroy experience really set me up for the success and making sure that I knew that when we were good, taking every opportunity that I possibly could.
Yeah, it's well said. Brilliantly said. Let's talk about the glory days, because they were amazing. Like, that was when I was at my peak of a fan. Like, I was, I would have been 7, 8, 9, 10, and I'm just lived and breathed footy. I grew up barracking for Essendon. Yeah, right. So I got the 99 heartbreak. I got the 2000 where they won, and then I remember, I think it was 2001 when you guys smashed Essendon. But then you just couldn't get beat. But you were just such a powerhouse, and all the players were so likable. There were so many stars on every line. It was just the team you had. Like, do you still, even now, I was thinking about driving in, half the AFL coaches are from your team. Like, what's it like being a part of such a successful team, and no doubt a great bunch of blokes?
Oh, absolutely. The mateship that we've got there, and we've only just had a reunion up in Brisbane a few weeks ago now. With the Hall of Fame, and then attached was the Hall of Fame, was the reunion. But the whole, I guess, being in those scenarios, Tommy, is at the time you don't realise it, but certainly now you start to look back and once you're retired and go, geez, I was very fortunate, very lucky to be sitting next to, a guy of Mel Michael's stature, a guy of Justin Lepage, Marcus Ashcroft, Chris Scott, Brad Scott, in that back line, Darryl White. You sort of sit back and scratch yourself, and it all came down to those two gentlemen who I mentioned before, in Lee Matthews and Graham Allen. They came to the football club, and they were absolutely, bringing a group of people with them, or themselves, but certainly bringing in other listed players from other clubs to top it up, such as your Mel Michaels, Martin Pikes, and these type. So they had that vision, and they looked at the list and obviously seen what was there. But some of the superstars that I was next to was just at training, and you see these guys. You see Michael Voss and Simon Black going head to head, doing 400s, 800s, and they wouldn't give up. And then all of a sudden, within another half an hour, we're doing skills one-on-ones, and then they're going head to head again. So, you just seen the way they brought the training level up and the standards up, and I think everyone followed. And the one thing that always sticks in my mind is how Lee had just made the game just sound so simple.
Yeah.
It was almost like, we've spoken about Ron Barassi over the last couple of days in his passing, but some of his messaging is something similar to what Lee was saying, is around do it my way, and if my way doesn't work, we'll do it your way, and I can guarantee you my way will work. And that's the way he was. He made the game very, very simple, but you look at, then you even look down forward as well. I mentioned some of the back line, the midfielders, but then you've got Jonathan Brown and you've got Alistair Lynch and you've got Jason Ackermanis, Luke Power. There's just,
stars
there's
everywhere.
talent on every line. And, we added some, Brad Scott came into our side. We got him from Hawthorn. He came up to be with his brother as well. They played a real vital role within the football team. Brad would put his hand up and say he wasn't the most skillful player going around, but he could do a job and he actually shut someone down and then utilise the ball afterwards. And, you look at him and you look at a guy like Sean Hart, who's the ultimate teammate that would sacrifice everything for his teammate to be able to be the best player on the ground, and that's what you needed to look at. And those years, mate, we were just it came actually really when we started to understand our success and who we were was after a game up at the Gabba. I think it was mid-season, where Essendon had come off the premiership. They hadn't lost a game, and Lee went with the theme, if it bleeds, we can kill it, out of The Predator. So he watched this movie. Lethal watching a movie around Predator and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and he determined that the Essendon Football Club was the Predator and we were Arnold Schwarzenegger. And Lee showed a bit of vision from a couple of weeks beforehand and showing where Essendon could bleed. And he replayed that and he showed us. And then at the end of the meeting one day, you had Arnold Schwarzenegger up there, came up, had the highlights going on, and then it came up and said the clip from the movie, if it bleeds, we can kill it. I won't try and do the accent because I'll be terrible at it.
Yeah, we both will.
And everyone was like, wow. And then he started going on about it. And then we came into that game against Essendon, and I think they hadn't lost a game, and they were on a 19 or 20 game winning streak or something. And until that time, that's when we realised that we can beat any team.
What was the footage? Can you remember? Like, what was he putting up there?
I think he was putting up with I think there was some footage around players disputing each other or a bit of discussion between players. I think there was some vision of some opposition forwards going up against the defenders at Essendon and showing that they're not that good. Yep. We actually got their measure. So if I can remember, that they were probably two, and he probably showed about 3 or 4 other scenarios as well. And that really, he made us believe. He made us believe that we could beat this team that had been premiers in 2000 and had a winning streak. And we come up against them, obviously, in the 01 grand final. And there's a bit of stories around people, the John Barneses and stuff, and putting tape around their arms because we're using IV drips and stuff like that to recover and all these type of things. So there was a couple of little niggles behind the scenes that Essendon players were having at us. So no, it was I can't sort of, you look back and you just, even at the reunion, you look at the photos and you just think that these guys were superstars that are sitting to your left and your right.
Yeah, the backline group. The whole field. And was there many injuries? Like, you guys look like it's a quick snapshot right now, just felt like the same team was always on the park.
Yeah, we had a few injuries. I think coming into the 03, 04, but the famous one is obviously Nigel Lappin with his bruised, his fractured ribs and everything, what was going on there. But Tommy, it was very, very common to walk into the medical room and to see at least 7 anywhere from 7 to a dozen needles lined up with local anaesthetic to be jabbed into boys before and even at halftime of the games. And it was quite surreal because they weren't really massive injuries. They were more sort of, or they weren't soft tissue injuries. They were just joint injuries and
AC
stuff.
joints.
Yeah, all those little bits and pieces. So through the years we went through and using a lot of local anaesthetic which you were allowed to use back in those days. I'm not too sure whether you're allowed to use them anymore.
I think you can still use them now.
You still use them now.
Yeah.
So we would have a lot of that stuff going on and it was just to get guys through and then what would happen getting guys through. You couldn't then train during the week because you'd be that sore. I remember my AC joints. So through the whole early 2000s, I had terrible AC joints, had them cleaned out, but they just kept coming back. I remember, going through seasons, not being able to. If a ball was above my head, I'd just leave it. If nothing was on my chest, I wouldn't even bother to put my arms up.
You can't lift your arms.
You can't even lift them up. So, and you save all that energy for game day. But yeah, our medical staff were just fantastic in getting us over the line. But yeah, there were a few injuries along the way. Coming into 03 and 04, we had Brownie limping in. We had Sean Hart, Daniel Bradshaw missed one of the premierships. Nigel Lappin, who we talk about as well. I think one year potentially Clark Keating wasn't there. Bo McDonald as well. So there were injuries there, but we had a good list to come up. We'd actually built a good foundation within the Queensland Footy League with our Lion Cubs, our reserve team, and everyone was playing at a standard that. As soon as someone fell over, we had the next person to come in that could actually fulfill them.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about Jason Ackermanis because he's a character clearly,
Yep.
and from the this is an opinion from the outside looking in, it always looked like he was causing a bit more distraction for the group, just being that I guess ahead of his time. To be honest, if he had the Instagram back then, he'd be famous, I reckon, because he was always on the footy show and everyone knew him, and he was so good to watch and a little bit controversial. What was he like inside the club, and what are your fondest memories?
I love what you said there, Tommy. He was ahead of the game. The stuff that we're doing now. He was doing that in the early 2000s, but there was no platforms for him. He actually worked. Him and Craig McRae done a radio segment on a Monday night. Coming out of Brisbane, out of Murray Country, the National Indigenous Radio Service, and that had a massive following because in Queensland there was no footy content. Like you couldn't jump on Insta, you couldn't get footy content only if you had Foxtel or you had pay-per-view on a Friday or a Saturday night. And Jason and Craig McRae, they done this an hour radio segment while they were still playing, and it was fantastic. It had this massive following through through the southeast Queensland, and he was well ahead of his time. And look, the way that I can explain Jason is that he was a fantastic footballer. Without him, I wouldn't be a three-time premiership player. And obviously it takes up a lot of different individuals to be able to get across the line at the end of the day. But certainly he was outspoken and spoke his mind and he was thinking more life after football, more life, what was going to happen with Jason Ackermanis after football. He loves his fast cars. He loves his fast motorbikes. He runs fast himself. He can kick left or right. You can't even tell which one his preferred foot is when he kicks it. But where Jace got himself caught up was that he was in the media and he was regurgitating a lot of the stuff that we were talking about within the inner sanctum into the newspapers and in the media and stuff, which Lee and a few of the other people within the football club who were running it thought it wasn't a great image for our younger group to be able to see what was actually happening and how he was doing it and how he was sort of going crazy in terms of just saying everything he possibly could say. But Jason Ackermanis is a person, a lovely person who will do anything for you. Yes, when it comes to his individual performance, he'll do whatever it takes to be better than the next person. Very competitive person, but his football ability just stands above anyone else in crucial times. He went from a back pocket. A lot of people forget about this, that he went from being a best and fairest winner with Jason Ackermanis, Kevin Murray and Roger Merritt medalist in the back pocket with Lepper, to going into the midfield and going to the forward line and being one of the most lethalest half-forward flankers, midfielders going around ever.
Yeah, I didn't even know that he played back pocket.
Yeah,
there.
he was a back pocket. So the year he went back pocket, so he was always a forward. And I think Lee put him to the back pocket one year. And fuck me, he was that good in terms of his speed and his ability to hit targets. Which him going to the forward line, the midfield, opened up a spot for me. So it was all right. So I was never going to get to Jace's level, but as a footballer, we couldn't have done what we'd done without him, and we knew that having the ball in his hands and him using the ball going forward, or him having the ball inside forward 50, there was only a few outcomes that were going to happen. Either kick the goal or set up someone within scoring range.
Efficient forward half.
He's a good guy. He's a good guy, and he's probably misunderstood a fair bit as well. So I got along well with Jace.
That's why I thought I'd bring it up. There's a lot of people that have, as I said, they just read one article and that's what they think of them. What about the handstand? Because as a kid, I used to almost cheer on Brisbane if Essendon weren't playing because I just wanted to see the handstand. You know what I mean? How dumb that shit is. As a kid, you just go, I just want them to win so I can see the handstand. And clearly everyone did. They used to love it.
Loved it.
But what were the boys? Because we've been in a change room before. There must have been a few going, fuck, have a look at this guy go. A bit of me time. But he was obviously, he had a cult following. And he used to, what was going on there? Did you boys ever get stuck into him about that?
We ripped him heaps of time. And, we'd say, it's all about you, Acker. Come on, off you go. Come on, brother, because we called him brother. He had a few different nicknames, but we go, come on, brother, go and do your handstand. Because he hung around us Indigenous boys a little bit as well. So a lot of people used to say, oh, you're one of the brothers now. And so we used to call him brother. So we'd always take the piss out of him and say, come on, do it. Even if we're out, come on, brother, get up the stage, do a handstand. If we're at a function or something like that.
And he'd do it, wouldn't he?
No, sometimes he would and sometimes he wouldn't. But what it done, it brought a new he was great for South East Queensland football. It brought a new following, like you just said, kids will love it. He was well ahead of the game.
Like a WWE wrestler.
But the one year that he probably shouldn't have done it is when he was playing at the Bulldogs and he come up, they bet us, and he done the handstand at the go. He rubbed it into us.
Oh, that's brilliant.
He rubbed it into us.
He would have been thinking about that all year, though.
Yeah. And then that was the thing. We had to make a stance at one stage and move Jace on as a collective. And, we thought that some of the stuff that he was doing, which we spoke about earlier around some of the stuff that he was coming at the media and saying that wasn't good for the young kids and it wasn't good for the young group coming through. And so we had a collective decision that it was, and we've spoken to him a few times about it, but there was a collective decision that we needed to move him on, and that was Lee's and Graham Allen's decision at the end. Yeah.
And that decision was that more leadership group or was that just more Lee?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixture.
Just get a feel.
Get a feel. And
how do you receive that?
Yeah, well, he did. Look, it's not great being sort of outed by your football club.
Yeah.
I think he didn't receive it well.
But what about now?
But now it's fine.
He understands?
Fine. I reckon there was probably a period of 2 to 3 years, probably after he'd finished and he retired, that was a bit bitter. But he then came to reunions, he came to functions. There was a couple of years where he probably didn't come to functions and stuff like that. But that's all under the bridge now, and we've all moved on. And I was actually sat next to him and his wife at the last function that we had, which was great to catch up with him, and it was beautiful.
Josh Dunkley, who obviously we're good mates with, and he was obviously at the function. He was telling, because we asked him, what have you been doing, brother? And he goes, we had that big function. I said, well, all the past players there? He goes, mate, every single one of them. I go, mate, there's royalty everywhere. He goes, mate, it was unbelievable. And it was amazing. I saw a few photos, like you said. We haven't even spoken about the midfield, but mate, the midfield, it's one of the greatest midfields of all time.
They call them the awesome four. I don't know, they called them the Fab Four. I think it was Black, Voss, Ackermanis, and Lappin in it, and you sort of miss
Power as well.
Yeah,
there's more than four.
Lukey gets missed out of it. And Lukey was a pinch hitter. When Lukey would come in, when any of those four weren't getting the ball, Lukey'd come in. Lukey was almost like he'd just fill positions. He was a forward pocket. He'd come down, but he could fit anywhere. And that midfield group, mate, it was just unbelievable. But yeah, going back to Dunks, and I'd coached Dunks at AIS Academy and got to know him really, really well. So pleased he's at the football club. He's been fantastic for the football club. But I seen him on the night as well, and he was like all smiles and everything else. He was right up the front too. He was in. I think he might have been on Lee's table, one of the sponsors' table as well. But that group that we've got now at the club and what they're about to embark on the next couple of weeks will get over the last hurdle here coming into this week. But yeah, he's been great for the football club. Yeah. Outstanding. But yeah, you could see he was pretty happy being in the room, and all the boys too. Like a big ask for them. It was their week off, and they were asked to come to a function midweek and not be able to get on the Terps or anything with us boys, and Pikey was leading the charge there. A few of us were really full by the time the night was halfway through, so they had to put up with a couple of our bullshit stories back in our day. This is how we rolled, and
although mate,
and then give them some hard truths as well. But the guys who got inducted really gave great encouragement to the group that were in the room, and I think that would mean a lot from them. Being a reunion night of 20 years. Back 20 years ago, beating Collingwood, and some of the messages that some of the guys who were up there, you had Brownie inducted as a legend, Simon Black, and they had some really good words to say to the playing group there. Fags wasn't in the room; he's obviously down here for the All Australian, and so was Charlie. So he was the only guy I wanted to catch up with, Charlie, when he wasn't there.
Yeah, Charlie, he'll be around soon. You'll see a fair bit of him. He's a good man, Charlie. It's good, but a great bunch of lads, the Brizzy boys, and to have all you guys, I think that function's really important, because you don't want to isolate the past players and the reunions. Bringing it all together, I think that's smart. Regardless if the players can't have a beer, they've got bigger, and they're obviously in finals and they're doing great things. So they'll no doubt, they should actually move that to the postseason. I reckon that would be a really
well. Tell me what they do. They alternate it each year. So 1 year it's in Melbourne, 1 year it's in Brisbane. But obviously with the COVID, we weren't able to do a couple of the inductions, so it was a long night. I reckon there was about 10 inductions. There was a lot of speeches.
Speeches. And you know what? Like each person has to do the speech, you got to thank everyone. But when it's the same speech for just different people, by the end of it, you're snoring, aren't you?
Fuck, give us a spell.
I reckon the best speech would be just play me highlights and I thank everyone.
Actually, what was really good, we had Anthony Hudson up there emceeing it or compounding it, or comparing it, and he got in about 2 questions into Martin Pike, because Pikey got inducted, and Pikey was like, all right, Hutto, I've got it from here. Pushed Hutto off to the side of the stage, and then Pikey, he went for the next 5 minutes, and then he got stuck. He goes, Hutto, you can come back and ask me a question now. So it was a good night. It was a really good night. It was an outstanding night. Really enjoyed it.
That's awesome. I've been doing these quick fire questions, and I just thought it just reminded me, I wanted to bring them up. So quick fire, this is just front of mind, and it's going to be about your teammates, all right, and a few other things. So, most talented teammate you ever played with?
Oh, Darryl White, without a doubt. Darryl White, absolute superstar. Could kick torpedo goals from the boundary line. I watched him as a young kid on a Sunday afternoon, sitting in the lounge with mum and dad when he was playing for the Brisbane Bears. I think he kicked goal a year when he was about 18 years old, and then I got the opportunity to be playing beside him, and he's probably one of my best mates.
Oh, and he loves his basketball as well.
Yeah, he's got his kids all playing basketball. Yeah. So we got you got Darryl. Darryl's now Darryl Jr. He's with the Lions on a rookie B category, but he'd been overseas in the States playing college ball, and then came, and now he's got William. His son William now plays for the New Zealand Breakers, has done for a couple of years now, and he's just got another contract there. I'm pretty sure.
Brilliant. We love that.
That's 2 of his 8 kids.
Oh, he's got 8.
He's got 8
he'd be a busy man, wouldn't he?
He does it well, DJ.
Oh, well done. 8. That's a great effort. Who's the toughest teammate you played with?
Oh, it'd have to be Vossi, the way he goes about it. Like his ability to enforce himself on a contest and line the ball up and just go through and hit blokes hard.
Mate, he was like, I watched his highlight. There's a few of his highlights are popping up now. The Blues are going so well, and he was a big, strong body. Like, if he was to hit you at pace, mate, as you see, there's a famous clip where I think it's Alan Richardson got absolutely smoked, but. Yeah, Vossi's
and that was in his young days. He probably would have been 20, 21 then.
And
but,
Vossi was fit. Like, he could run all day, couldn't he?
He could run all day. The way he trained, what he done behind closed doors was just amazed me. And I spoke about it earlier around him and Simon Black, trying to beat each other in, 400, 500, all these running things that he could actually run. And we got to remember, he had that horrific injury over in Fremantle where he broke his leg.
Mm.
And I reckon he missed about a year and a half of footy through that. And he got back from that, and he came back stronger and better from that. But a hard man. I reckon I had a couple of times where I went on one-on-ones with him at training and had no chance. So
Too strong.
He just pushed you straight off.
Yeah, wow. It's great to see him going well. He looks like from the outside looking, I've never really met him, but he learnt so much from not the failures, the learnings early days as a coach. And you can see he's got a real even the way when Carlton were going pretty average and they were getting knocked in the media, he still had that calmness about him where you're like, I still reckon the media, because I'm a big believer of Carlton. I've said it for 3 years. I thought last year they were stiff. This year they're doing everything I thought, and probably doing it against the grain a little bit, coming from 15th. After round 15 or whatever it was. But, I really like watching him go about it, and I hope he does do well because he looks like a good fella.
He's a good man, Vossi. Yeah, great man. And some of those, like, when we spoke about my time at Fitzroy, he was at the Bears and they were getting thumpings when he was 17 years of age. And then, yes, he probably got into coaching a little bit too soon, left the game, went into the media, then back into coaching, and then he learned a lot of stuff. But the good thing that he put his hand up about is that he went and put himself under a great coach in Kenny Hinkling for a long time over in Port Adelaide, and he's learned so much, and it's been able to trust others, and you can see that he's involving other people, and obviously Lukey Power's down there with him as well, so he's got some mates that he knows and that he knows how to go about things, but certainly at the moment you see him he actually looks a more calm and relaxed coach this year, even though by round 5, everyone was calling for his head. But
they go quick.
But they stuck to their guns. And look what he's done. He's turned them around.
Nah, it's brilliant. There you go. Toughest is Vossi.
It's not a quick 5, is it, Tommy?
Nah. Smartest. Well, because your teammates are so interesting, we can keep elaborating. Smartest footballer?
Smartest footballer, I'd have to put down Simon Black for that. Simon Black, very, 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 very smart in the way, left footer, the ability to run, the ability for him to hit the contest at speed. Hit the contest at speed and be clean as anything. That's what you mean in terms of smarter footballer. Yeah. So, his ability to run through contests and just knowing where the ball's going to be all the time. He was just so smooth.
It's I know this is quick fire questions, but I'd actually get rid of the quick fire. Let's keep going like this because this is good for people listening, especially the younger guys that are really interested in these players. They're the best to ever do it. So even then, I was just thinking, hitting the contest at pace. You don't get taught that a lot as a young fella. Like, be clean and all that, but being able to be clean, like Lachie Neal's really good at it. I think he can really pick the ball up and hit a contest at pace. Yep. So Blackie and his skills out of a contest.
He's a Brownlow medalist, and he's that for a reason. And some of the stuff that he would do out on that football field I'd sit back. I'd had the best seat in the house.
You got the box office.
No, sitting in the back line, right? I know it's either Black, Ackermanis, Voss, or Power, or even Lappin's going to win the football. I could sit 20 metres off my opponent. 20 metres off my opponent and not worry about it as a defender and just get in a real aggressive position.
That's awesome. And then they go, geez, he reads the play well, Johnson. Bit of pressure on the ball, no doubt. What about your funniest teammate? Who's the bloke in the locker room that just used to make you laugh every day?
Mate, there's one guy that just made, not just me, but the whole footy club. And you just wonder, where does he come up with these ideas that he thought? Mel Michael. He's got the best sense of humour. Sometimes it can be dry. Sometimes it can be pretty straightforward. He was someone that always kept you on your toes, and you weren't too sure what was going to happen. And so Mel, in terms of funny practices, he'd always play pranks, and he was lactose intolerant. Mel, and we would have our team meetings on almost every Tuesday morning, and probably about a half an hour before the meeting, Mel would walk around drinking a carton of milk. Just walk around, just showing everyone a carton of milk. So would be in the meeting, and he'd be dropping some. So it'll all just go straight through him, and we'd see him, and he'd do it every couple of weeks, and then we go, oh shit, we're in for a big meeting, and normally it'd be after a pretty good. You'd know that. It would be going to be a short meeting because he'd need to run to the toilet pretty quick after it. But Mel was a classic, very funny man, and he was a real good guy to
real enforcer. He's one of the biggest units I've ever seen. I reckon, on TV.
He's probably. The way I look at it, I reckon he was unlucky to be, All Australian on a few occasions. I thought he was out by far the best fullback up against. Obviously, Matty Scarlett was around those days, and there was a few others. But I thought he was a bit harshly dealt with over those times that we were. We had, I think one year we may have had 5 or 4 in the All Australian group, and unfortunately for Mel missed out on a few times. But a funny man.
Oh yeah, that's great. I didn't think it would.
Follow
be
him on Twitter. He's quite funny.
Yeah, right. I don't use. That's the one app I don't really use. What's it called now? X.
What is it?
X.
X is it? There you go.
Yeah, there you go. It's all changing. Who's the most underrated player that you played with? You spoke about, Lukey Powell doesn't get mentioned a bit, but anyone else that kind of flew under the radar and just dominated?
Daniel Bradshaw.
Yeah.
Daniel Bradshaw. Daniel Bradshaw really he was in the shadows of probably Lynchy and Brownie at times. If Daniel Bradshaw was leading out at full forward, I'd have no hesitations in kicking it to him. His ability to work over his opponent. Outside 50, I'd put my house on him to shoot, have a shot on goal and kick the goal as well. I thought he was just underneath. I don't think he was underrated by us, but I think he was just under the shadow of 2 quality forwards that had been very in the limelight for a long, long time. He came, and a lot of people forget, he came and played that State of Origin game here where it was Victoria versus the All-Star, the last State of Origin, played centre-half back on like Buddy Franklin and a few others and kept them pretty well held all night. He's certainly one guy that is underrated through the football world. He was just inducted into the Hall of Fame as well, Daniel Bradshaw, but his ability, we called him Big Guns. His arms were just massive. Yeah. Now, that's one guy that can do a handstand. He could do handstands up and down stairs. He could walk. Wow. On our Mad Mondays, he'd just walk around on his arms all day.
That is
and one day, he was pretty polished by the other one day, and he slipped. And just smack his head.
The old party trick, no doubt, comes out, man. That's brilliant. I was about to say, what's the best Mad Monday outfit you've got for me? That was there you go. That's probably the best story. Who had the best rig? I mean, I was just thinking about how hard you all train. Who was the most cut?
Oh, geez, the most ripped. The calendar boy. I'd have to go back to the Blackie. Blackie had the tan skin.
Good looking rooster.
Yeah, good looking rooster. He got the surfy background, so he had the long sort of.
Mate, if he was coming to the ranks now, he'd be like the Baz Linker, wouldn't he? Like you'd put him next to each other.
He was just ripped. He was ripped. Blackie would actually, he just wouldn't put on weight. He was told to put on, he just couldn't put on weight, and he'd just be that ripped. Shawnee Hart was pretty ripped. I think he got down to a skin fold of under 30 at one stage.
That's
I reckon.
Lean.
Yeah, that really, really lean. He was a completely athlete. But yeah, it'd have to be Blackie for sure.
That's great, mate. That's great. All right, there's a quick fire now. So now that you're retired, what's the one thing that you miss the most about playing?
I think Lee always talked about what drives you to play football and what gets you to a game and what is it that's your passion and your purpose. And I think it's the nerves, Tommy, the nerves. Going to a footy game, driving to a footy game, it's okay. But then once you're getting out of your car and you're walking there, or you get that fire in your belly, you get that nervous bit. That's what I miss. I don't get that a lot anymore.
Yeah.
That's what because you don't know whether you're going to fail, you don't know whether you're going to succeed. It's that whole sort of unknown area to be, and you to be able to have a part in it, in trying to get to the end of the day and be the winner and be the victor. I think that's the part that I miss. And obviously the guys that you go from hanging out with 50 odd blokes to almost nothing, and you go from during my time it was semi-professional. Then it went really professional in my back end. You're spending 8 hours a day with each other, and the banter that's going around, the relationships and the friendships that you build as well. That's certainly the part that I miss mostly, but certainly that fire in the belly. To be there in a couple of weeks on the MCG grand final day, I'd do anything to be in that position again, because that's the ultimate success. That's why you play football. The individual accolades are great and fantastic, but certainly being on and now that football has gone, back in probably early 2000s, it was probably just here in Australia and a little bit overseas. But now it's a global thing where people are watching our game. And you just look from Carlton's win last week. We've got Robbie Williams just putting things up on social media around his music and around the coning and all that type of stuff. Awesome. So just to get back there, you miss that whole sort of build up to a game more than anything else.
Well said, mate. Well said. A lot of people say locker room, but you're right that feeling of playing, let alone just like a final and all that, it is really hard to replace. And you can't find it. It's hard to find in the real world, as we like to call it. It's not the same.
No, you work yourself up, and because you put in so many steps to get there on that day, and whether it be grand final day, round 1, round 12, whatever it is, but to get there on the day and actually not knowing what the outcome's going to be, but you've done everything possible to you thinking that you're going to win, or you think you're going to win, and then it sometimes falls away from you.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. Last one, if you were to pick one player in the AFL right now and bring them to Brisbane, let's say, just any club really, but just one player in the competition that you just would bring to a club that you're creating, who would it be and why?
Oh, I'd have to bring Bud. It's certainly Buddy Franklin. I seen Buddy playing as a young kid. He got hold of us one day. It would have been 2005, I think, or 2006 at the MCG. He was only a young fella, and he got a hold of us one day there, and just his presence on the ground. I think the why you bring him because you just want to sit back and be able to watch somebody like that and be involved with somebody like that. Probably one of the greatest forwards that we're going to see for a long, long time. We've just seen what he's done over the last couple of years in the Swans, and he's turned that football club around. I watch him from afar and just think he would be awesome to play with. I'd love to line up alongside him. I'd love to be kicking him the ball too, Tommy, coming out and just admire him. And I think his presence out on a football field and his ability to actually just turn games off his own boot would be the reason why I'd want him to come in.
He's a big boy. I remember this is actually just reminding me. I was like trying to fight for a spot in a preseason game, and I sold him a bit of candy in the back pocket, and I just got him, and I remember him just coming up and bumping me, going, "Fucking don't you do that again?" I thought, that wasn't the only reason I sold him the candy, because they're about to kill me. You know when they come in real hot. I thought,
you've got him then.
that was probably my only highlight. In a practice game in the suburbs of Sydney or wherever we were playing. But yeah, mate, he's a big boy, and you forget, don't you? Like when he retired recently, you look at his highlights reel and you just think, you see, because you see the highlights so much, but you think about the guy that's chasing him, and poor Hooksy, Hooksy's actually pretty quick, like Buddy's a freak, but that highlight, man, I wonder if he's getting any royalties from that.
It probably didn't even show that he probably had about 5 efforts before that too. Hooksy, he may have.
That's like the classic coach going, mate, have a look at this. Can you maybe, can we get goal side? It's fuck, have a look at the 5 efforts before you get the whole picture. But there you go, bring Buddy in his prime. I want to talk about Lee Matthews. I really want to just dive in here as a segment. I want to know more about him. What kind of belief did he put in you individually and as a team? And you speak about how he brought these, key personnel to the footy club. Clearly, he's thought, we've got to put the right people around, and even thinking about the list, very solid list, a lot of big bodies, and clearly some great people and hard trainers. But what were the things that, I know Akka spoke on the media and gave you a game plan away, but you could probably talk about some of this now. What were some of the things that your values on the walls and all that you can kind of share with the public so they can apply it to their, their working lives or their football clubs?
It was quite, everyone's going to think it's going to be complex, yeah?
Yeah, simple, I'm imagining.
It's very, very simple. Lee spoke about a lot around fundamentals, being really fundamentally predictable to each other, knowing what your teammate's going to do. For example, if I use Craig McRae at the moment, we all knew within our team that Craig McRae taking a mark or getting a free kick or whatever it was, he was never going to give it to a handball or run and pass. He was always going to wheel on his left, take about 10 or 5 metres gain, and then just kick the ball long to an advantage side. We all knew that. So we didn't waste any energy in trying to get the handball received. We knew that was Fly's weapon. His weapon was coming out, receiving the ball as a hitter, and then wheeling and go and getting the ball quick and catching the defence out. That was his weapon. So Lee basically brought it into us that fundamentally you need to be stronger over the football. You need to be cleaner. You need to hit targets. You need to focus on your skills, and you need to focus in the gym. And you need to be strong. You need to be able to break tackles, and you need to be able to tackle as well. So the two or three fundamentals that within that were being predictable as well to each other. He had a simple plan in around how do we get to the grand final? What's our best road to the grand final? And he done the old pyramid. And obviously at the top of the pyramid was to be premiers, and underneath the tip of the pyramid was around that we needed 12 to 14 wins to get 2 home finals. For us to get 2 home finals, it meant that we didn't need to travel. We have a week off. We get to recover. We knew that our talent was good enough. But then what we were able to do is be able to regenerate our bodies and get our bodies right and be able to put our best foot forward on grand final day or during those finals, whether it be a first semi or whether it be a prelim. So he really painted a simple picture for us in around numbers. He got a lot of stats up. More often than not, when you have a shot at goal, in front of goal, if you're having a shot at front of goal, you're going to kick more than most. So if you're on the boundary, best chance is to centre it. If we get a mark, we're going to be more of a chance to try. It was all around percentages of football. What are the high percentages and risk reward? Obviously, coming my position, sitting at full back or back pocket, but kicking the ball in, was in around, and obviously the quickest route to goal is straight through the middle. Is it high risk? Yeah, it's really high risk if you're going to go up the middle. But you need to go, at some stage we need to go wide, and then we need to come back in the middle. So he had a simple game plan in how we wanted to enter into our forward line, but how do we actually get that forward entry in the way that we want it? And it wasn't always a straight line. It was sometimes that we need to shift the ball, shift the defence, and it was a way that I'd never looked at football. He really simplified it as well, and he talked a lot about the tip of the iceberg as well. Everyone can see the tip, but what's underneath no one else can see. And that all came back to our work and everything else, that if we've done all the work and everything, everyone will see who we are at the tip, but they won't see the work, the grinding that we've done through the season as well. So it was a very hard man. He was ranting and raving early stages. And then we got a guy of the name of Phil Jauntian, a sports psychologist, who'd been working with a number of Australian sporting teams. And he basically brought it back for Lee and brought it back for us as well. But certainly for Lee, he would rant and rate after a game if we'd lost. Basically, Lee would then, with Phil Jaunty coming in, Lee had actually worked out that he didn't need to say anything after the game. He'd leave it for a Tuesday or a Wednesday or potentially a Monday to review the game and get his thoughts. All Lee would come in after the game is point out 1 or 2 things that weren't really harsh towards individuals, but then he would always talk about the recovery part of it, and he would then digest the game over 2 or 3 days and then come back with his feedback and that. And his feedback was pretty good. Always had vision to back it up, and always had key KPIs that we needed to go by. And it was always around inside forward 50s, tackles, and contested ball. If we could beat every team in those 3 factors, we would always, more often than not, be able to win the game. And it was simple as that.
Yeah.
It was simple as that. Win the contested ball. If we haven't got the ball, well, we need to make sure that we're out tackling the opposition. If we can get the ball in quick and fast into our forward 50 more often than our opponents, we're going to win the game. It was simple as that. And then obviously there's line coaches underneath that work through that and build that and make that sort of simmer a little bit more and have some sort of individual stuff to work on. And one of the other things too was around trying to keep our defence under 10 goals. So defending, but we didn't work a lot on defence. It was just around trying to keep our opposition under 10 goals. If we could get 50 inside forward 50s, we're going to have 25 shots on goal. So every second time you go in, you're having a shot. And basically, we just worked on a philosophy around all those little bits and pieces. There's a lot in there, Tommy, I know, but it's very fundamentally simple.
There is a lot in there, but there's not. If you break it down, back six and team, keep them to less than 10 goals, and then and let's win the contest, or if they've got it, tackle hard and get it in, and we've got some beasts up there that can finish the work.
And the good thing for us as a defensive unit is that we had guys that were both ways, running both ways in the midfield.
Yeah.
So we had Vossi and we had Martin Pike on the wing with Tim Noddy on the wing and Brad Scott on. We had a lot of guys going through the wing and a lot of guys going through the midfield. Nigel Lappin, one of the hardest and most underrated footballers going around as well, along with Daniel Bradshaw. But certainly the ability for our midfield were good when they had the ball. But fuck, they were even better when we didn't have the ball as well. They would work their guts out to put a little bit of pressure on the way that ball's coming into the defence, which made my life easier. Meld Mells, Meld Lepers, made Pikeys, whoever was down back at the time, DJ, made it a lot easier for us when there's a bit of pressure on the ball coming in.
Are there any, you talk about, it sounds like the emotions got the better of Lee Matthews. Sometimes if you're lost before the psychologist got there, were there any big sprays that you remember, maybe to a whole unit where you look back and go, ooh, that was scary?
Yeah, I think one day he gave us a massive spray. Which was quite funny. We this is before we actually started getting on our run. It was at Princes Park. We played against Carlton. They smashed us, absolutely smashed us by about, I think, 60 odd points. The week after we lost to Adelaide. This is 0-1. We lost to Adelaide, and then we played that game against Essendon, which we spoke about earlier. Anyway, so he gave us a massive spray, basically said to us all, up on the whiteboard, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, didn't do this, didn't do that. And it was really at us. And it was at Princes Park. It was in those old rooms. So the room was half the size of this, Tommy. And it was just like two rows there, and the whiteboard was almost, you could touch the whiteboard almost. So he gave us a massive spray. And during the spray, there was the WADA people come along to drug test us, they're knocking on the door, and Lee's still going with his spray, and everyone's going, shit, this person got it. Anyway, so eventually, the door comes open, and it's the WADA guys. All right, the WADA guys, and goes, oh, Lee, we're here to test. And he goes, did you not see the game? Does it look like any of these bastards are on drugs? They just got smashed. It was the best one.
Did you still start laughing?
Mate, it was just like, shit. We didn't laugh. We didn't laugh.
That's when you're sitting there, you're like, oh,
shit.
In the change rooms, I bet you would have exploded.
Oh, yeah, after. Once we got out and on the bus and everything, heading back to the airport, fuck, it was one of Lee's best. One of his best.
That is great. I miss so little moments. That's great. What about is there anything else with Lee? Like, is there anything that you take into SKS, which we'll talk about in a moment, but like business, life? Are there anything messages that you still remember that really that it's a real easy way to be successful from things that he's mentioned?
Well, the thing that he really came up with is know your role. Know what your role is, and if you don't know your role, go and find out what your role is and what you need to execute. Know your role. And then go and perform it. So once you know it and you know how to do it, you need to go and execute it and perform it. And it's the same thing within our football team that we spoke about, is that, okay, if I've got a role within the football team, if Lee's given me a role and I'm not 100% sure, I need to go and find out what that role is. So know your role. Then go and execute it. I've got to do my best possible way is knowing how to execute that role. So on the football field, whether it have to be, a lot more body work, or whether it be, I need to be cleaner below my knees. And in business, you need to know who you need to target, who are the people that you need to target, and then know your role, perform your role, and then execute it as well. Execute it is mostly the biggest thing that I've taken in those three steps that Lee had talked around, and that was football life. And now within business, I'm doing a similar thing. Is now knowing your role, performing your role, and then executing your role as well. So, and you've got to bring people on the journey as well. He brought us all on a journey together. He brought the people in. He brought the medical staff in. He brought everyone in. And the one thing that that Lee always done really, really well. He involved families. We had a good family football club. He involved partners, he involved kids, he involved parents of younger kids. You know, the whole relationship around the football club. It was like a big family. He used to do one really, really good thing, which was, you know, happened for about 4 years in a row. Was that before the season, before the finals campaign came, he'd actually get us all together for a dinner, all together with a dinner, and he'd talk to the group and tell them how much it meant for the next 4 to 5 weeks and what it looked like and why we were there. And it wasn't because Michael Voss was doing extra training. It wasn't because, you know, Simon Black was sitting out doing extra stoppage work, body work. It wasn't because of me doing extra kicking or set shots on goal, whatever it was. It was actually the people around him, our families and everyone else actually getting around us and giving us everything we need to be able to perform, to come to the training in the right manner and then come to the games in the right manner. So, yes, we're the ones out there performing, but he was really good involving people into the whole story and the whole picture of thing. But certainly some great life lessons that he's taught me in football that you can just transfer over to life and in business.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I love hearing the families part. I really like that. I really like bringing everyone in, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Bringing everyone on the journey.
Well, we had a creche. We had a creche at the football club.
So the big kids running around.
We had that many, but at a game, we actually had to have a creche at the Gabba because we had so many guys that had kids and support staff and everything else. And mate, after the aftermatch in the kicking area where you see the boys go down there, mate, there'd be that many kids down there running around kicking the football and everything.
All mates now.
They're all connected. You know, the Johnsons, you got the Lappins, you got the Bradshaws, you got the Lamberts, all those. It's unbelievable. It was unbelievable. Really, really special time. It
is a special time. Before I talk to you about international rules, because we've got a couple of stories there, and everybody didn't ask you about the international rules, mate. I'll just go give you the little heads up that's coming. But coaching, are you surprised that? I'm actually interested. Are you surprised that so many of your teammates are now coaching as head coaches and also, you know, underneath them and doing really well? Are you surprised that a lot of them are going down the coaching route?
No, not really. Not really. You look back at the meetings, the meetings that we'd have either, you know, doing opposition meetings or doing reviews of games. And the guys who were speaking out, the guys that had ideas and opinions around certain things are the guys that are coaching now. The guys who are confident enough to speak up and talk about what was going on during the game are all the guys that are in coaching positions now. You know, I'm not surprised where Chris has been for the last 10 years or so. I'm not surprised where Fly is at the moment. Not surprised with Vossi. You know, Blake Carosella, even to that fact, Lepper as well. They were all very strong individuals and had a real good view of the game itself and would dissect the game individually in their areas as well. Knowing of Lepper as well, knowing how he saw the game and how he was able to, you know, manufacture some really, really good defences within the Richmond Football Club and now at Collingwood as well. So that personal experience that they have doesn't surprise me at all, Tommy, that we've got so many guys that are involved. You know, even Luke Power, for example, he's coaching reserves or the VFL group at the moment at Carlton. But the way he deeply thinks about the game and deeply thinks about individuals as well is no surprise to me to see so many guys. And you hear the press conferences of Vossi and Fly and Brad and Chris and the guys that are and even when they talk in the media. And it's exactly what Lee would be saying to us. And you hear they're almost like mini Lees.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
They're like mini Lees, but they're doing their own. They're putting their own spin on it as well and bringing their own initiatives into it as well. And
there you go.
It's certainly no surprise to me to see so many of our teammates within those premiership era or during my time at the Lions in coaching roles.
Do you reckon they touch base with Lee frequently?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So Lee was, especially when he was coaching, he was very much driven for the outcome. Driven for the outcome, He'd talk to you about. He'd only know or how to approach it around talking around the football game, and not so much personal stuff. A little bit of personal stuff, but mainly focus on what the end result is. And now that he's out of coaching and out of football, he's the most relaxed guy that you can talk to and get opinions off. I've rang him on a number of occasions to get his views and opinion on certain things of the game and everything else. Answers the call, gives or if he doesn't, calls you straight back. And have had coffees with him. And I would say that a majority of the senior coaches now that are coaching now would lean on Lee for certain things. Not all the time, but there'd be, if they ran into a hurdle and they thought that Lee could help, there'd be no hesitations in them giving him a call and coming along. And I heard Fly got Lee back to Collingwood Football Club when he took over there, and I don't think Lee had been back there for a while. So that was a nice touch as well.
Yeah, that is a nice touch. Fly impresses me a lot, mate. I'll be honest. I don't know. If you can have a beer with someone, I reckon right now he'd be the guy as a coach.
Well, he hates us talking about it, but he was the one that ran our Mad Mondays.
There you go. So really, he's a real people person.
He'd have an itinerary for our Mad Mondays, and he'd bring in so many guys. Him and Vossi would work very, very. They'd work very, very hard on it without anyone knowing, and then you'd rock up on the Mad Monday, and there'd be all this shit organised just to keep the day going. And it was awesome. It was awesome.
The people's champion.
And now he's got a good balance between his fun life and actually being a coach as well. So he doesn't like us mentioning it a lot, but
man, if you go, keep it under wraps, boys. Keep it under wraps. Yeah. Oh, that's good. No, that's as you can see, he's really good with people.
Yep.
I reckon he can see he's maximising the people within that football club every day.
Yeah, and he comes from a teacher background, and once he retired, and probably not a lot of people don't know this, but once he retired, he went into AFL Queensland and coached the under-18 competition, their national team or their state team in the national championships for a while. So it's not like that he's gone from finishing as a player and straight into the AFL system. He's actually built himself, and he's got a teacher background at the same time. So he's very, very personal with individuals.
No, he's good. He's he's doing great things, and it's going to be an interesting. Obviously, we're pre-recording this. This will come out after prelim week, so we don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully, my Giants boys beat the Pies.
Yeah. How good have they been? They've been awesome. They've been great. Yeah, Toby Bedford, hasn't he just given them another
a little bit of spark, mate?
Jackie Riccardi.
The big Rick. So many good characters as well, just ripping fellas. So I wish, like all footy clubs. All right, let's get into the international rules, mate. I want to know what it's like to represent the country, and also just the memories, and clearly the one incident. We can break it down because there's more to it. I know there's more to it. But let's just start with the international rules. What was it like to represent the country?
Oh, mate, it was fantastic, and I was named within the squad on a few occasions, which I represented the country 3 times. I could have represented it a few more, but they were the overseas tours, and I had a few bits and pieces going back here at home and stuff like that. But it was a pleasure. Vice captain one, co-captain another series. One with Shane Crawford, vice captain with him, and then with the great Andrew McLeod, co-captain with him in my last series here in Australia. But to go overseas and represent your country, there's no bigger honour than that. The first time I went and represented Australia over in Ireland was when the Bali bombing happened. So it was actually happening at the same time in between 2 tests that we were playing in. So being over there at that time was quite special. We were the first the first team to represent our country after so many things had happened to our people over in Bali. So look, to be able to get in a group with guys that you see from afar, and we spoke about Buddy before, but you see from afar and you see how they prepare and you see how they go about things, to get them into one environment together and actually travel internationally with them to represent your country, there's nothing better than it. Yes, it's a hybrid game, and it's different for us. It takes a while for us to get used to the actual ball itself and the rules and everything else. But I think our professionalism, we're always able to come over the top and be able to be the better teams through the series that I played in anyway. But getting around, you'd have Dipper along there. You'd have Jared Healy. You'd have Gary Lyon. You'd have some of the guys that have been playing this hybrid game for a long, long time, and what it meant to you. Jim Steins was involved on all the occasions that I was there. You know, to hear that man talk about where he came from and to actually be over to Australia and Australia to get him an opportunity to play at a professional level was unbelievable. And him to go through the stories the challenge that he went through as a young kid in Ireland and then coming over to Australia. So. Look, fantastic times. Nothing better. The red carpet gets rolled out for you. There's some good times, you know, where you have a bit of fun about after training sessions and whatnot. But certainly the serious part when you lock in the training, everyone's locked in and everyone's on the same page and want to get the same result.
How hard was the training? Because it's obviously in the off season, so it's a commitment. It's not that it's a commitment; it's your country, but it is the time where you're meant to rest and recover for the upcoming season and pre-season. How hard is the block of training with the new ball? Yeah.
Well, it depends I was quite lucky, Tommy, where I would roll into it straight after GFs. Straight after GFs.
You're lucky,
so some guys that finished in round 18, but well, how many games? Round 22 or whatever it was, they'd finish and then they'd be done for about 4 to 5 weeks, and then they'd have to get going again. So I assumed it was hard for them. We'd have a week of celebrating our premierships or whatnot, and then get back into it. But the training was hard. So you'd come in. You'd come in for at least a week camp before you'd actually start to get into it. It'd be all around skills and touch. You had a responsibility to keep your level up of fitness up to a certain level, but it was all around the touch of the ball and understanding what the game plan was and everything else. And some of the guys that were coming in had never touched the ball before in their life. And as soon as you got selected, which was a good thing, as soon as you got selected in the game or in the squad, you get sent a ball. Get a set, a ball, and a book of the rules and everything else. So you had to do a little bit of homework yourself and do a little bit of touch and things yourself. But the training was probably more hard. The harder training sessions were the ones that they'd call when you didn't have one, when you'd been out the night before, and they were the hard sessions that they used to run you and obviously get you back up to scratch a little bit.
Yeah, that's brilliant. How tough were the opposition? Like I used to watch and go. I used to think, far out there. This is hard. We're not like you kind of assume we'd win all the time. Yeah. Because they don't get paid much over there, do they? They don't get that.
Well, back in those days they didn't. So
we were the so-called professionals, but geez, they were good.
They were fit. They took pride in their game. They took pride in their country. They took pride in everything they'd done. So they were part-time footballers. They were hard. They were tough. They could run. Their ability. Their speed was one thing I struggled with. I was in the hybrid game. I was a forward. I wasn't a backman. I couldn't keep up with them, Tommy. I struggled to keep up with them. So I was a forward mainly in the hybrid game. And look, how they applied themselves for our games against us. It was a scalp for them to get us. If they were able to beat, and they compared themselves to us, and I reckon some of them maybe have been playing for trying to get noticed by an AFL team to get offered a contract over here at some stage, and we see it happen quite often now. But it's certainly something that you look at and you go, well, we should beat them. We should have beat them quite easily, but they were part-time footballers, but they were professionals at their game, what they were able to do with the football. And the ability to read the ball, like obviously with our rounded shape ball, it goes everywhere, but the ability to read it, and they get brought up on soccer too.
Yeah.
So they know how the ball moves, and, we'd be coming out thinking, yeah, we're going to get the ball, and it just bounces straight over our head. So there's a little bit about that, but certainly them as an opposition, they weren't easy to beat. They were very hard and solid too. Like we would tackle them, and that's when that's where we used to use a sling tackle a fair bit against them, and then that came into it as well. But we used to tackle and dump them, but then that got sort of brought out because we would hurt them a fair bit. But they stood up to the biggest challenges that they were delivered. That's for sure.
Remember, there's a guy called Gooch, I reckon. There's a guy called Gooch. Just front of mind, was a bit of a solid bastard, but. Talk about, do you think we should bring it back?
I think it should come back.
Because it was so exciting to watch. It was only a quick series. And
I was quite lucky enough, Tommy. We took an Indigenous side over there where it was in the balance, and Andrew Demetrio, they were putting out, they were inviting all these players to come and play, and a lot of players weren't taking it up. And it happened for about 3 or 4 years, and then I was working at the AFL at the time, and Jason Misford approached Andrew Demetrio and said, let's take an All-Stars team over there. So I went over there with an All-Stars team, which was fantastic. It was a great experience. Cultural exchange as well between the Indigenous people and the Irish people as well. That was fantastic. But then obviously it dropped off for a couple of years, and then they gave the players some incentives to play. And I think that's what it needs to have some incentives. Exactly like, you look at our soccer players when they go and play for Australia, they've got incentives there. You look at our cricket team, you look at all the sports that go and represent Australia, they've got incentives to it, where the AFL incentives weren't that big. So representing your country should be a pretty big incentive itself, but I reckon there needs to be incentives attached to it. And we've seen that happen where we've seen some of the biggest, I think Chris and Ross, I think may have coached together
in Perth. I reckon,
in Perth, and brought it back up to the level, and we had all the superstars playing. And we need to work out a concept on how we get the superstars to play. And we're talking about our AFL season being long already, so it's a lot of the clubs obviously pulling the players back for not playing. But if we could get to either that or a state of origin again, would be outstanding.
I think state of origin, that would be great. Money talks, right? You give the boys a big incentive. They'll be going. We understand that, but 50 grand for a week, couple of weeks of footy, I reckon will go. Like it comes down to viewership. So if there's millions of people tuning in, there's no reason why they can't generate it. But it was just exciting. It's something that you think of. I think the NBA have their All-Star week, which is a little bit that's massive, and it's a little bit there's kind of spraying them because it's not that competitive these days. But there are little things that go on that week, like your 3-point shootout and your dunk contest. Like just those events definitely get the crowds going mid-year. So I think ours was definitely state of origin. It was always, which you've represented as well.
No, I didn't get.
You didn't. I thought you played in the
state of origin. No, I was an emergency, Tommy.
Emergency. I brought up the bad memories.
I got invited and missed out on it was probably one of the last. It was when Boomer Harvey carved up. I think it might have been that game there. I was an emergency that day, so got the train with like Tony Lockett and these guys. I was only 19, I think 19 or 20, and I was just going, wow. It was when I was at Fitzroy, and I was just like, how good is this?
That is crazy.
And then all of a sudden it came to a real big halt and never got played again.
Nah. Sorry, mate. I just brought up some bad memories. Emergencies, all right. I was emergency my whole life. Let's go to the incident because I heard, we obviously know that there was a big coat hanger and there's always argy-bargy with the Irish boys, and there was no one tougher than yourself. I think of blokes like Campbell Brown used to throw his big brown dog used to throw his weight around and whatnot. But there's more there's more behind the argy-bargy I've heard than just the your incident. So do you want to shed some light on the incident?
Well, there's been there's been a lot of I guess blues, if you want to call it that, or hits, and it comes back to their tactics. It comes back to their tactics when you're actually in the game, Tommy, and it was they're pretty good with their tactics, and we've got the old pinchies and all that type of stuff. But what they were actually doing during my time, I can only talk about. I can't talk too much about other times, but they'd just be late on a few different things, and and then they'd say they didn't know. And they in our game, it's like if you're late on something, you hit me. Well, I'm going to hit you back type thing. I think for them, they were just like, I didn't know you weren't allowed to do that type of thing. But the other thing too, Tommy, is what they were doing to our forwards, or even if you got ahead of your opponent and you'd run, they'd actually step on the back of your Achilles with your boot. So instead of trying to run beside you, they'd actually step on the back of your Achilles and just scratch the hell out of the back of there. So a lot of that stuff was happening, and then things get to another thing, and then we'd obviously had enough, and look, it was one of those brain fades that I had that I wish I could take back, but it just happened one after another. I put the arm out and clean the poor young fella up and feel sorry to him, apologise again. But then from there, I just seen a whole heap of Irish blokes coming at me, and I thought, geez, I've got to defend myself here. I'm gonna get belted here. Back in the Jackal day. So basically just started throwing them around a little bit. I reckon I got 2 of them. I didn't get the rest. The other 8, they all just dropped. But there's all this stuff that goes behind the scenes as well, that you eye each other off and all these type of things, and you're all good when you're in the functions and stuff, but when you get out in the ground, it really becomes the battle between 2 countries, and And yes, there's a lot of niggles behind the scenes that you don't see that you have to square them up, and that's the old Aussie way. You got to square it up somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Well, mate, it's one of the it's definitely a memory and a one that I mean, as I said, as an Aussie, it's just. Yeah, Aussies it's just anything, not anything goes, but it's just if it's on, it's on. And I'll tell you what, I don't know what the TV ratings were, but I'd imagine they were through the roof.
But I think what happened eventually, and the reason why there used to be a lot of brawls or punch-ups or what used to happen during those international rules games is that the suspensions, if you got suspended in that, you only got suspended for international rules. You didn't get suspended for your club. And I think now what they've done, or the previous couple of series they played, I think if you got suspended in that international rule, you got suspended into your club, which sort of cleaned things up a little bit. It's probably smart by him.
Yeah. Well, that's probably because of a few of you blokes have helped them out with that one. But that anything else? Any other fond memories from there, like the functions, the boys? Any funny stories that you still think about?
There was one funny story when we went with the Indigenous boys when we took. I wasn't playing. I was team managing at the time.
Team manager. That's
team manager. It was a good role. It was a good role. It was we had a good time. We went and stayed at Jamal and Castle. And all the Australian teams go and stay there. It's his castle. I think it's in Carey, I think it might be. And basically from there, you go and stay in this castle. It's turned into a hotel. It's got a golf course. It's got all these activities. You spend about 2 or 3 days. They get you out of town so you can behave yourself a little bit. Anyway, so we have a big dinner there. It's you all get dressed up in your suits in the dining hall. Gil or Andrew's there. They do a big speech, and you got a few of the AFL executives there and everything else. And anyway, so one of the boys got talking to one of the waiters, and one of the boys had found out that it's haunted. This castle's haunted, right? So me as the team manager going, all right, rightio, yeah, no worries, boys. And as boys, and where you had to go to the toilet, you had to go downstairs and almost in this like dungeon top, and boys was like scaring the shit out of each other all night and jumping out at each other, and you could hear people laughing and carrying on. Anyway, so dinner was over. Everyone went back to their rooms, and we had a training session the next morning, and me as team manager out there ready for the training session, and half the boys were there on time, and we're going, where's the rest of the boys? And we started working out that all the boys were that terrified, right? So I went around knocking on everyone's doors, and there's no one there. And I had the MasterCard, so then I'd go in, no one in their rooms. And so what eventually happened is that they were shitting themselves that much. They all went and stayed in the one room together, and they couldn't sleep. I got to the one room. There's about 15 blokes in there, all sleeping on the floor everywhere because they got scared about this haunted castle.
Oh, so, the demons!
Oh, they shit themselves. It was quite funny. We thought that they'd gotten on a bus and just took off and gone out
left the country
on the night at town on the night, but they all stayed in the one room.
You thought
together.
They were Dublin or something?
They all just took off in the town because in the middle of nowhere, this castle, and there's no town. There's a few towns close by, about 45 minutes, but we thought they'd all shot through, but it was all because of the waiter told them about it being haunted, and they all jumped in the same room together. So quite funny. It
reminded me when we were kids. We used to watch that movie Chucky. Remember Chucky? As soon as I'd watch it, I'd have a demon, the nightmares for weeks. It's amazing what goes through your head. Before I ask you about your Milwaukee Tools handiest moment, I just back to the premierships, because I don't even ask you about this because you just see it and you hear so much of it. But just your memories on each one and how special was the first one the most special? I do hear that most people think the first one's the most special, but the last one, how would you break it all down? Because 3 in a row.
Yeah, well, I've got 4 kids, Tommy. It's almost asked me which kid's my favourite.
Well, Deion Sanders, prime time, he ranks his kids, so he keeps them accountable.
I'll say my daughter's the favourite. There you go. The fourth one. So the 3 boys don't get any love from me, but I do love them. Look, I'd have to say the first one. Just because of the journey and my story, the journey of being at Fitzroy, being involved in the first 4 years of my footy career, not being so successful, and then getting there and always dreaming to be at grand final on grand final day, getting there, being the last Fitzroy player, being only one of that 8 players with the merge, Tommy, to still be there. And then quite lucky enough that Pikey then come across, who I played at Fitzroy with as well. It'd have to be the 01, coming up against Essendon, knowing that they were favourites coming into it. the favourite team. They were going back to back. We'd obviously beaten them earlier in the year. You just go back to that, and I remember now we were in the old, which I don't know whether you remember, we were in the old Melbourne rooms. The old Melbourne rooms where the Olympic stand is now, it was mouldy concrete rooms. It had the old race going down with not the barbed wire, the fence down the side and on top, so no one could throw anything at you. All those. I remember walking down the race there and seeing everyone there on the day, and that is probably my most favourite moment, is walking out there. But the confidence that I had, that I knew that my teammate next to me that's going to do his job, and if he done his job and I'd done my job, we're going to be, we're going to reap the rewards at the end of the day. And I'd have to go back to the 01 grand final of that, and the conditions. A lot of people forget the conditions. It was 27 degrees that day, and we felt very comfortable in that climate. And to halftime, it was touch and go, and then in the third term, we just took over. We took over, and as they call it, the premiership quarter. So I'd have to go, 0-1 the first one, but certainly, you got fond memories of the other two against Collingwood, and a lot of people talk about our fourth one as well. If we had got over Port in that fourth, that probably would have been just as memorable as the first, because making history is probably the one that probably overwrites them all. But unfortunately, we weren't able to get over that day. But I won, going back to it, a boy from the northern suburbs, being involved at Fitzroy, being involved in numerous of wooden spoons, and being there and actually holding the cup up, and just being there after the game. Got interviewed by Dipper after the game as well. It was just fantastic, and knowing all the hard work that Mum and Dad had put in, and the whole family and all the support around me that I had, my wife and my children as well, was just, it had to be 0-1, because you never thought you could get there, and the first one's always the most favourite. Yeah,
that's awesome, man. It's the dream. It's the dream, and it's awesome that you mentioned your family and sharing it with everyone, and also like yours is so different as well. Like I obviously didn't know, like there's 3 wooden spoons, and then you've won 3 flags in a pretty tight window, like not tight, but like tight enough. Like you wouldn't see. I don't know many people that would have done that. Yeah. 3 really tough, and then 3, nearly 4,
Yeah. Well, my first 4 years of football, which I spoke about earlier, it was just terrible. I was just like, what the hell is going on here? Yes, you're obviously getting paid for something that you love doing, but you want to win football games.
Yeah, you lose your head a bit.
And you want to play finals. And a lot of, and in my first 3 years, Tommy, a lot of the guys in that draft year that I was drafted in, they were all playing finals. They're all playing finals, and you're sort of sitting back, on your holidays, wherever you are, Bali, Cairns, whatever it is. Didn't go out too far from that for our footy trips, but you're sitting back and watching those, and you're like, well, I was only just playing with these guys, in the under-18 competition, and now they got the success. And for what it was, I didn't know all this success was ahead of me.
Yeah, you do compare. We've all done that. Don't worry. I remember I was doing my first preseason, and I come back lighter, and the boys all come back 5 kilos heavier, because we're still doing technique work with the barbell. I said, give me a spell. You're comparing your rigs and everything, not just games. So that's 2001, 2002, 2003. Like, I want to quickly just condense all of these, but just some memories from one, like just even passages of play. Like 2001, what's one play that still stands out?
Intercepted the ball coming off halfback, third quarter. I intercepted off Joe Mercedes, tried to kick it to Mark McCurry, intercepted. I turned around, kicked it straight down Craig McRae's throat. He wheeled and went, kicked it long, and I think it was Lynchy who marked it goal. And then from that stage on, I thought, we're unstoppable here.
Yeah, nice. And do you still remind the boys that you set that play up?
Yeah, I remind Fly when I see it.
What about 2002?
2002, wet day. Just the biggest thing there was the ability for us just to overcome the conditions. No individual moment, but just the whole day. We think it was going to be nice and shiny again, but the ability for us to actually get away with it and be able to work through diversity, the conditions. Acker's goal as well was fantastic, and Look, there's a lot of moments, but I think the whole day where it was tough conditions.
Yep. And then 2003?
Oh, 2003, I think it's the rocker goal that everyone talks about. They reckon it was a goal. I was there ready to kick the ball in. It was clearly a point, and that was a hard sort of effort day. But certainly that moment there and again, through the 02 and 03, there's very vague memories, but again, it was tough conditions, wet, cold. I think it was the coldest day in Melbourne in September, so it's those whole conditions that we're able to adapt our game plan. Okay, yes, it was good during the dry, but during the wet weather football, it stood up its best.
Yeah, contested ball, tackles.
Yeah.
And what about actually 04 as well? Let's just talk about why'd you lose, you reckon?
What did we lose? Be honest?
Yeah.
Well, we only had a 6-day break. Port Adelaide played on a Friday night. I reckon it didn't help us with our recovery, and we're so entrenched into our recovery. We were still in the game. I think halfway through the third quarter, and I reckon the toll of everything just ran out. They were just better in the second half of the game than us, and good riddance to them. Well done. Still haven't seen the game. Haven't watched the game.
I haven't watched it
at all, Tommy. Don't want to look back on that thing. And plus, I didn't have a great game myself. I played on Choppy Pickett, and he got the Norm Smith medal. I don't want to be looking back on that.
Mate, just stick to the three blows.
Yeah, but no. 04, we just we limped in. We limped in once again. And just didn't have. With grand finals, winning grand finals, a lot of things have got to go your way. Your list, your injuries, all that type of stuff, and you've got to be up and about as well, and you've got to be able to hit the ground running. And we thought we were, but not many teams. Or I can say this quite easily that I don't think many teams are going to get in that scenario of being able to go for 4 in a row.
Nah, not many at all. Not many at all. Well done, mate. It's what dreams are made of. 4 grand finals in a row. Like it's crazy to think about.
Oh, it is.
As you know, it's a fair mountain to climb, and to climb it 4 years in a row and fall short just at the end, but win 3 of the 4.
Yeah,
it's special.
Well, by the third one, we had the after parties and everything sorted out. So we knew what was going on. We had everything
got
planned.
The Mad Monday. He goes, right,
we had everything planned. So, and unfortunately, 04, we had a lot more things planned, but it didn't work out.
Oh, no, yeah. That's brilliant. That's so good. Let's go to now life away from outside of footy and business world. I want to know a little bit more about SKS. Give everyone out there a little understanding of what SKS is and what you do.
Yep. So SKS Group, SKS Technologies, SKS Indigenous Technologies, audiovisual, electrical, data, comms, and smart buildings. So we've got a national footprint across Australia. We've got our Indigenous business, which I'm the managing director of, which I'm heading up with. It's in partnership with the Jinx family, who you know very well, Tommy, and it's been a great relationship so far. We're just coming on 12 months into the relationship. We're building our Indigenous employment numbers, so it's about trying to get Indigenous employment numbers, Indigenous people within the workforce in the electrical space, the audio-visual space, data and comms. So we're trying to do that nationally. We're hitting some good targets at the moment. Got 12 employees at the minute and really, really going strong, and got a fair bit of work in the pipeline for 2024 in this coming financial year. So it's been a great relationship. Got shared values between myself and the Jinx family, Peter, Greg and Matthew, and Patrick there working there as well in the office. I've loved the opportunity and all the stuff that I've learned through football, Tommy, and I'm just putting those values back into business as well, and building a strong business at the moment, and hopefully we can go to bigger and stronger things throughout the coming years, and giving some opportunities for my kids as well to be a part of the company as well.
No, it's brilliant. Yeah, the reports that consistently hit the share, when there's a little ASX announcement, they're just getting better and better, and it's probably because of blokes like you doing such a great job. Only a year in, I know they speak really highly of you and said that you've overachieved, which we love to hear. You spoke about Lee Matthews saying, know your role, execute your role. What is your role, and what do you need to execute, on the daily at SKS?
So my role within the SKS Indigenous arm is actually to bring new new clients in that SKS Group would not normally have had, and other avenues, and thinking around how we can actually target other Aboriginal businesses to help them to execute their Indigenous targets as well. So basically, day to day, I manage the SKS Indigenous body on a day-to-day basis in the office almost every day, working closely with Matthew Jinks, who the CEO is, and working with our electrical team and our audio-visual team, and then working very closely with each general manager of each state. So we've got Shane Edness, who's the general manager of the eastern seaboard, and then we've got Sam Nelson, who looks after South Australia, Western Australia, and the Northern Territory. So just working with them very closely and targeting and making sure we've got a focused target in terms of our new clients that we're bringing on. The main thing is bringing Indigenous employment numbers up and into the industry. So my connection through multiple communities throughout the country and involved with youth as well over a number of years at the AFL running their Indigenous programs. So I've got a good footprint and a good way or a good segue into some of those communities and got good connections to those guys. So basically bringing new clients in and building our Indigenous numbers up within the industry as well.
That's awesome, mate. As I said, you're doing an awesome job, and it's great to see you're helping the Indigenous boys and girls, give them an opportunity and to work in such a great company like SKS. But I always like to dumb it down because when I was at school, I was pretty simple. So what I want to do is talk to us about what are some of the projects that SKS are working on or have worked on so that people can understand how big this company really is and the work that, because you hear about Sparkies and whatnot. This is a bit different. This is
totally. Well, my son's coming through as an apprentice at the moment as a Sparky, but some of the projects that SKS Technologies are doing, if you think about the North Footscray Hospital, we're doing work into there. And if you talk about SKS Indigenous Technologies, so we're doing work with the Koori Heritage Trust, which is based in Fed Square. So we're doing 2 levels for them with their electrical and their audio-visual. So when we're talking audio-visual, some of that stuff is TVs, around sound systems, around touch screens, around interactive screens and these little bits and pieces. That's one project we're doing at the moment in the heart of Melbourne. If we talk about outside of Melbourne or outside of Victoria, we do a lot of work within the NT space, in the defence. So we're very heavily involved in NT in the space there of defence, and in South Australia with a company called Ventia as well, doing elite work into them in around their data centres. And then if we go outside of Melbourne, we're working with the Rumballara Football Club in building their community hub there at their football club, which is a facility where it's going to be a place where community can come and use for functions, community groups can use. So it's going to be a residential area as well that they can bring camps in at the same time. So there's some of the big projects that we're doing as SKS Indigenous, but SKS itself, SKS Group, we're doing some massive programs or projects within the city. We've just done the Monaro Library, which is just at southeastern, the South Melbourne markets, just right next to them. So we've delivered that project, which was our first project at SKS Indigenous Technologies that we've delivered along with a company called Buildcorp. As doing a fit out there. So there's some big projects going on at the moment. As I said, our 2024 pipeline is quite big at the moment, and looking forward to, pushing that work out.
Yeah, it's awesome, mate. And the work you do, it's incredible what the technology can do these days. Like when you say, just again, break it down, what the technology you're putting in to make I guess the audio and the visuals and all the lights and all the screens and that all off one button. How do you even come up with that stuff?
I'm not the technical side. I'm not the technical side. I always think I sell the dream now.
Yeah, because I'm thinking if I have a sports bar one day, I'm calling SKS and I'm saying, boys, what can I do?
Yeah.
And they'll go, we can do it all by the click of a button.
Yeah. So basically we have our electrical team, we have our audio visual team. And then we have a data group as well. So we all work together under the same banner, and we bring together ideas and thoughts how we can actually give the end client the best and most easiest and simplest product to use, what they want to get out of what they want to do. I think what it comes back to, if you want to do a surround sound system in your house, or you want to do a meeting room, so a boardroom, for instance, a boardroom, we can bring in everything there where you want to, we get into meeting rooms so often, go into meetings, and you got to plug all these certain things into a laptop. Well, we've got the system where you actually just plug one thing in and it works off all these other different systems, and it can go around, pretty much in that whole boardroom. So it simplifies technology and audio-visual, and I guess, hooking up your TV to an antenna and all those. It makes all that easy, and we take that work out of all that stress out of your work, and then we have the electrical component where if you want to put lights to certain beats and all these little bits and pieces, we've got a group of people that can pull all this into one area, they're very clever in what they do.
Oh, they are. It's seriously impressive what SKS does, and as I said, the group, there's so much going on. It's fascinating. Anyone listening, watching, and they want to get in touch with yourself or SKS, where do they go if they're going, holy shit, this is what we've been wanting for our company? Like, how do I get in touch? Where would they go?
Yeah, just go straight to our website, SKS Technologies or SKS Indigenous Technologies. If you have maybe something that you want to give back to the community. So we, in SKS Indigenous Technologies, we support certain communities around Australia, in around schooling, health, education, boarding houses and whatnot. So a majority of our earnings or majority of our profits go back into Indigenous communities as well. But yeah, go to our website. We're on Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. And you can basically go there, sks.com.au. You can find us on any sort of browser that you're looking at through.
Perfect, mate. No, you're only 12 months in, but mate, you're selling the dream, and I love it. I love it. No wonder. I hope they're paying you the big bucks. Jinxie, we have to have a word to him for a little pay rise. Jinxie, he's on fire, this bloke. But no, very good, mate. Very good. Now we go to now when you come on, mate, great timing. Milwaukee Tools. They are, as I said to you before, without them, we don't have this. This doesn't exist. They are such a great support of the podcast, Tommy Talks, and what I do love about Milwaukee is they consistently, they offer our guests some prizes and some products.
Slick,
yeah, and this month it's all about the lawnmower, mate. So we've got the lawnmower here. You got the battery pack as well, and full throttle under 1 second, as you can see, mate. Before I give this lawnmower a fair income plug, I want to know. We always ask our guests, what would their Milwaukee Tools handiest moment be? So, you had an amazing career, and we keep it kind of on the footy field, but is there like a moment where even you were shocked with the goal that you kicked, or it might be international rules, or a moment that you might have had a cool passage of play? What would be the one moment where even with your kids you go, your old man, look at this highlight? Like, is there one Milwaukee Tool handy moment that stands out?
There are, Tommy, yeah, and I'd have to go back to my marks. I didn't mind flying for a hanger every now and then, but it was a mark in one of the, I think it might have been an 01 prelim final against Port Adelaide, and an ex-teammate of mine, Matthew Primus, was playing for Port Adelaide. They kicked the ball out straight down the middle of the ground. He locked arms with Vossi, and I had no one on me. My forward player had gone up the ground, and it was just a perfect sit. And I launched myself. I took the mark, and before I landed, I was smiling already straight at Matty Primus. So that was a great moment for me. I've got a photo of it at home as well. So every time I see the lure, I make mention of it all the time. Matty Primus, a good man, and he was a great player for Fitzroy. He went on the Port Adelaide and coached them as well. But that had to be my Milwaukee moment.
Yeah, don't worry, Milwaukee's a tongue twister. I was saying
good quality gear too. So talk about SKS, Tommy. We use Milwaukee quite a bit within our industry, and a lot of our apprentices and tradesmen use the Milwaukee gear. It's quality stuff. It's quality gear.
Yeah, it is. It's all the tradies use it. Yeah. As I said, it's that's why it's been so good to partner with these guys. Yeah, it's quality, mate, and all the guests that we've given out. As I said, they've got the best products.
Oh.
Like heated jackets, they've got all the tools.
Didn't even know they'd done lawnmowers.
Well, mate, they've just brought them out. The optimized steel deck design. It's push start. It's self proper. I can't even say it. Propulsion. I keep it in. Don't even edit it. That would go and tell me sorted out capabilities. It reaches full throttle in under 1 second, and it comes with an 8-amp starter pack to get you started. And that'll be hitting your doorstep, mate, once we finish the show. Big Tig Coyne there from Milwaukee Partnerships there. Head of marketing, head of everything. He's the man, and he'll be emailing you and sending you that on your doorstep. You got much lawn to cut?
Yeah, I've got a little bit of lawn, Tommy. I got a bit of lawn at the boarding house where my wife and I manage. So got a bit of lawn to be cut there, but certainly it saves bugging around with those two-stroke engines, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
No, just bang straight away.
No fuel as well.
Fuel,
looking after the world.
Yeah, that's right.
The greenies will love it.
That's right.
But yeah, Milwaukee. That's great. The boys are using their tools. It's we'll have to have a chat to them, see if we can get a little something going. But well, let's go to RIXX and retirement. Oh, RIXX and retirement. RIXX on tour. I changed the segment.
Tour.
Mate, you come on here, you get a pair of sunnies. The sun's starting to come out. I just saw the Bureau of Meteorology, as they say, the bombs come out and said, it's not La Nina, it's the opposite. I can't remember what it's called, but we're going to have a hot summer and spring, which is just music to my ears.
Happy days.
Because last year was a bit wet, and trying to sell sunglasses when it's just raining is tough work, Jono. Mate, these are yours, the RIXXs. I've got you the Black Orbit. So, yeah, I always say OBJ, he's probably the most famous person that's worn these. But the Black Orbits, they're a staple.
Thanks, Tommy.
Chuck them on. I know you said you got a round head, and I said, these are round frames, and they're more your they're very popular. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, the kids will be I always say put them down a little bit.
There you go.
Now, mate,
how they looking?
Oh, you look the grand.
I reckon the boys will grab these off my hands straight away as soon as I walk in the door.
Yeah, just hit me up. I'll send you another one. There's 4 kids. It'll be tough. You're going to lose them, I reckon. RIXX on tour. Off season when you're playing, there's always some great characters at the football club, and there's always guys that help you. When you finish the season, you need just a couple of weeks just to have a few beers and relax, unwind before you get back into it again. Who would be the 2 blokes that you would take with your RIXX Eyewear, your Black Orbits with, and where would you go?
Jeez, I'm not a massive traveller, Tommy. All the off-season stuff for me has been mainly within Australia. I've only been to one overseas footy trip, believe it or not, which has been to Hawaii. I guess if you really want to have a good time and you want someone to go the distance with you and probably outlast you, it'd certainly be Martin Pike. You'd bring him along with you because if you wanted to hit the sack, if you've had too much, you'd just keep going himself anyway, and you'd probably find him there the next morning as well, still going. So you'd be able to start take off where you left off. Certainly him, and I'd bring probably a good mate as well in Darryl White. I'd bring DJ along as well. DJ would actually calm things down at certain times when things got out of hand for myself and Pikey. He'd pull us in the check pretty quickly, and I reckon we'd probably find ourselves not so much. I like Australia. I like staying within Australia, so we'd probably find ourselves somewhere up in around probably Byron Bay, that type area, mate. Very, very close to home, so we could get home quite easily if with family and whatnot. But yeah, those 2 there, they'd certainly be my 2 wingmen if I was to go anywhere with anyone and bring the RIXX sunglasses along with me.
Oh, mate, it's well said. And I think we forget how good Australia is. I always ask, where would you go in the world? But every time I come back from overseas, you're just reminded of how bloody lucky we are and how good everything's. Everything's here. You got everything you need, and only 2 or 3 hours away.
Yeah, and Byron Bay, like you can sit around there. You can pretty much do nothing. You got the beach there. You got the hinterlands. You can go up the coast to the Gold Coast if you need that little bit more extra. But a beautiful spot. There's so many places to go around Australia. I haven't done all of Australia yet. I've done the Nullarbor. I've done the tip of it. Done through Cape York as well. But looking to do a bit more in the coming months.
Is there a place that that stands out to you that you have been in Australia that you thought was stunning and not many people?
Mate, there's a place in the Cape called Fruitbat Falls. It's a local waterhole. It's a waterhole with some waterfalls and stuff like that. I go there once a year and have a bit of a swim around there for 45 minutes, and it's the most beautifulest place I've been in Australia. It's in the middle of nowhere. There's only tourists there that come in and come out each day, and the water's so beautiful, fresh, sparkling water. That's certainly my favourite place in Australia.
Yeah, that's great. Love that you shared that, mate. It's something that someone out there will definitely check that out. I've never heard of it, so I have to get some photos of that place. Hey, just wanted to say thanks so much for your time. I know you're a busy man running SKS Indigenous, and you've got a lot going on, and we haven't even spoken about commentary, and we could have spoken about all the other years. But look, we'll have to get you back on again. But yeah, thanks so much for your time, mate. I've always wanted to get you on, and getting you on around finals time is quite special, considering that the Lions, as I know, and everyone listening, this will be recorded before the prelims. So if they win, they'll be going into a grand final when this is released. But yeah, mate, you had an amazing career. You've done so much for so many communities, and you're doing so much for so many people now. And I wish you nothing but the best. And thanks so much for coming on.
No, good on you, Tommy. Thanks for having me, mate. And let's hope the Lions get in grand final, and it means a cash-in week for me.
Oh, mate, that's cashies galore for you boys. That's what I was speaking to your teammate John O'Brien, who was saying it. But just he had, I think he said he had Dane Swan on his podcast, and all they were talking about was if we can get a Pies and the Lions, it'll be a cashies heaven. But hopefully it's the Giants playing. And to everyone listening, thanks so much for your support. Always hit the subscribe button or like, or send us a comment. I think you can even write comments on Spotify now, so you can let us know what you thought of this episode. Jono's been outstanding, and great story, and plenty more to come. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one. One more time, because I really mean it. I just want to say a massive thank you for all the support you continue to give us at the Ausmerican Aces. If you want to further support us, make sure you like and subscribe, hit the follow button so you can keep up to date with all our exciting shows and announcements. Righto, now it's time to give our sponsors a massive plug. Lead the charge with Milwaukee. Performance, power, precision, no petrol hassles. Learn more at milwaukeetool.com.au. Milwaukee, nothing but heavy duty. Aces, I know I always talk about the RIXXs, but I got to offer you the discount again. In case you've forgotten, or in case you're sleeping under a rock, we have a special discount code for everyone that listens to this podcast or watch the podcast. It's ACES. Head online to rixeyewear.com.au and use the discount code ACES, and you'll get 20% off. That's right, 20% off, 1/5 at checkout, and free express shipping. So head online, rixeyewear.com.au, and check it out.